There are a lot of moving parts in the human body, and the thyroid is like the manager helping to get the work done. But if your thyroid is not working at its peak, everything from weight gain to hair loss may happen. I got details from health expert Terry Naturally. Take a look.
There are so many symptoms associated with the thyroid because the thyroid is like the thermostat in our home. It actually increases the metabolic function of our body. People that have very, very low metabolism, they don't burn up the calories, they gain weight very easily, they try every diet and nothing works. It's because their thyroid isn't working very well. They also have very cold hands, cold feet. They're tired all the time. They're exhausted. They're chronic fatigue. They have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning. They're slow. They don't like. They say, "I'm not an early morning riser. I can do better things in the afternoon," because by that time their thyroid is working a little bit better because it's based on temperature. So as you get up in the morning and you walk around, you drink a couple cups of coffee, you have a shower, you eat. That in turn turns up your temperature a little bit, so they feel halfway decent by the afternoon. But generally speaking, they have a very subnormal temperature, and that's what regulates the metabolic function. That's what regulates the thyroid.
And the fascinating thing too, I want to talk about these symptoms also. There's so many things that could be vague. You know, I have dry skin, I'm constipated, my eyebrows aren't filled out. I mean, that's fascinating.
I've run into some women that have their hair is falling out. They see more on the pillow, the more in the sink, and so forth. Their outer third of the eyebrows are missing. I had one woman said, all my eyebrows are missing and all my eyelashes are starting to fall out. That's an iodine deficiency. As we think about bones, we think calcium. When you think about thyroid, you need to think about iodine. But really, talk to your doctor. If you're taking Synthroid or something that's a synthetic drug, you really do need iodine, but you do need some help from your physician to help you make that choice.
Now, talking about your physician in general, can they always test you and find out if there's something wrong with your thyroid?
Well, according to the research of Dr. Broda Barnes, who's now deceased, but he worked for 60 years, almost his entire life as a physician, studying the thyroid, and thousands and thousands and thousands of patients that studied on the thyroid. And he found, in fact, he's the one who developed Armour Thyroid. And it's a medication that doctors can prescribe for the thyroid. It's a natural form, which has both T3 and T4. He's the one who developed a temperature test that you can take under the arm. It's a little bit more complicated than just describe here on the air, but you can get more information on taking the temperature for thyroid function. But you normally take it under the arm, and you do that for several days in a row, and early in the morning without getting out of bed, so you don't want to influence your temperature. And if you're below 97.8, you have probably a underactive thyroid. Chemistry, blood chemistry is not very accurate, and sometimes it takes a long time to be diagnosed. Some patients, or women have told me, I've got every one of these symptoms, but the doctor won't listen to me. He won't give me any medication because the blood chemistry doesn't say so. It isn't the blood chemistry, it's the temperature of the body.
Fascinating. So what are the long-term effects then of having issues with your thyroid?
They just never feel well. I mean, it's not fatal. They're not going to die in most cases. They could have nodules and cysts growing on their thyroid. They could have a goiter. And all it is a deficiency of iodine. It's not medication. It's not that you don't have to destroy the thyroid with radioactive iodine, which is a different source, a harmful source of iodine, not a natural mineral source. And it could lead to cancer. Thyroid cancer has tripled in the last several decades.
So where do we get iodine normally in our diet?
Unfortunately, we don't. That's the problem today. We are very, very deficient in America in iodine. We don't have a very good food source for it. It's not in our soil. Even going back into the 1940s, 60% of all grade school girls in the Midwest had a goiter. It was very commonly, in fact, when I was in grade school, they passed out goiter pills because we all needed some source of iodine. Then they found out, let's throw it in salt. They put it in iodized salt, which is iodine, but now we cut back on salt. And it doesn't perform well when it's in salt. It evaporates, so we don't get the iodine from there. So we really don't have a source. So when they look at countries around the world, like Japan and Okinawa, they are having a high source of iodine, about 12.5 milligrams of iodine per day. And in Okinawa, they have the largest population of people over 100 years of age. They're getting somewhere between 80 milligrams a day to 200 milligrams a day. Very, very safe mineral. It was the #1 medication prescribed before World War II. It was a medicine. All the doctors said we use it for everything because it worked on everything, and it even worked better than drugs because it's antiviral, antibacterial, and anti-cancer.
So if you're going to take a supplement, what would you recommend?
Well, what I would look for is I would look for a supplement that had both iodine and L-tyrosine. L-tyrosine is a natural amino acid found in proteins like meat or fish or seeds or nuts. Those two nutrients combine together to make thyroxine. Our thyroid will make our own hormone if we allow it to, if we have the tools. If you want to build a home, you have to have tools. If you want to have your thyroid function normally, then you have to have the tools. And the tools are iodine and L-tyrosine. They combine in the body to make thyroxine. We don't necessarily need a synthetic form like Thyroid or some other form of a medication, unless the doctor, of course, that between the doctor and the patient. But the iodine is really what you need to take in order for the thyroid to improve its function. You can't think bone without thinking calcium. You can't think thyroid without thinking iodine.
So Terry, I also want to have a chance to talk about you because you're kind of known as a rock star. You've been at this for many years talking about all natural supplements. Tell us a little bit about how you got started and got interested in all of this.
Well, it's interesting because I was probably in the worst shape possible when I was younger. So it really means that you can always have hope to get better. Maybe you're not going to be as good as somebody else, but you don't want to compare yourself to somebody else. You just want to make sure you get better where you are, and that's what I did. I've been in this business for 45 years, and when I was in my late teens and early 20s, I was in terrible shape. I was a carboholic. I was a sugarholic. That was my diet, and it got me to where I was over 250 pounds. Wow. I was very, very much out of shape. I was very angry, belligerent, obnoxious. I had very severe depression. I had very severe hypoglycemia, low blood sugar. And luckily, somebody took me aside and said, Terry, it looks like you're going to go to jail the way you're going, because I had more fights, because I would fight before I would talk. And so I joined the Marine Corps to get out of town, to cool my heels, so to speak. And Captain of the Marine Corps took me aside, and he became my friend, and he told me what to eat and how to eat. Got me to shop in a health food store, and that was my first introduction to health foods. And I've been committed to it ever since. I have a passion about developing good quality products and teaching people how to change their lifestyle, because it's lifestyle that's causing all of our disorders today. They're not diseases. Mm-hmm. You know, we're treating things like dry eyes and all these little minor problems with drugs. Yeah. We don't need more drugs. 60% of all the drugs manufactured worldwide are consumed in the United States. 80% of all the drugs manufactured for pain are consumed in the United States. Wow. So we are a society that think our answer to health is drugs, and it should be food and supplements.
And speaking of supplements, you've really had a huge hand in a lot of award-winning products.
Exactly. In fact, one of our products called Curamin, which is for pain relief, has won over 20 awards, which is the most awards won by any one product in the health food industry. And it's won awards at least every year for the last 7 years. It's a record that nobody's ever had before, nor has anybody ever equaled that at this point.
If you'd like to learn more about the products that Terry naturally talked about, you can head out to a Nature's outlet near you. They're in Roanoke, Salem, and Martinsville, or give them a call at 540-989-5109. You can also order online at naturesoutlet.net, and they have a free lecture coming up called Healthy Living, Happy Aging, Wednesday, September 17th. To RSVP, you need to give them a call at 540-989-5109.